All right, so hello and welcome to Jazz Piano Daily number 83. Today we're going to be talking about slash chords and what they mean and how to play them. All right, so shifting over to the music here. You see in this first measure here, we have a couple of different chords written in. So the main chord here is we have this D minor 7 chord, right? So just plain old D minor 7. And then this next chord, you see it says slash C, right? So it has that kind of slash mark and then the letter C to the right of it. Okay, so when you see that, when you see something like that slash C, that means that you're going to play the C as the bass note or the root note, okay? So rather than playing a D down here, instead you're going to play a C, okay? Now you also notice, oh, what about D minor over A, okay? Now I wouldn't suggest playing the voicings like this. This is a little bit low, but just to kind of, demonstrate for right now. So this is like D minor over A. You can see A is in the bass. And then what about the D minor 7 over F, right? So here I have F in the bass. Okay. Now notice when I do like the D minor over A, I could also do something like this as well. I could change around these voicings. That would still be D minor 7 over A, even though there's no 7th in there. Okay. Or I could do that for D minor 7 over A. So typically what you'll see is you'll see something like this. You'll see D minor 7, you'll see the slash, and we call that slash over, and then you'll have some other notes down below here. Now, that note down below here is typically going to be a chord tone, right? So the root, the third, the fifth, or the seventh, okay? Typically. Not all the time, but typically it will be that chord tone. So D minor 7, there's D minor 7 over C, there's D minor 7 over A, D minor over A. You could also think of that as D minor 7 over A and just simply say, hey, I'm voicing out the 7 because I don't want, it's just a little too low. That could be D minor over F, to be honest with you, right? There's D minor 7 over F, right? You'll see in the music here that I did not write it as D. I didn't put the D in here. I didn't put like D minor over this. Sorry, it's kind of hard to write that. I didn't write the D minor in there, right? Instead, all I did was just put the slash A. Sometimes some players like to put this in every single time. So D minor over F, D minor over C, right? D minor over A. That's completely up to you. You might see it written both ways. All right, so that is your just basic slash chords. Now, you don't want to get confused thinking that D minor over C means, oh, I play a C chord here and a D minor chord here. Okay? That is such a thing, and that we call a polychord. But that is written differently. That would be written like this. It would be written like D minor, and we use a horizontal line over C. So that means play a D minor triad with a C major triad below. You don't see that many polychords, okay? At least not written in lead sheets, okay? You will see them, but you just don't see that as much. A lot of times you'll also see polychords of like stuff like this, C7 with D on top. And this is what we would call an upper structure triad, which you've talked about that before, okay? So anyway, for slash chords, a slash chord is I take my chord D minor, I could put any root underneath it. If I put the D underneath it, it's not considered a slash chord. It's just a D minor 7 chord. If I put any other note underneath that, that would be a slash chord. So this would be D minor over C sharp, even though, yes, I could still play this here, even though that sounds terrible, and I'll explain why in a second, but that's D minor over C sharp, D minor over C, D minor over B, D minor over B flat, over A flat, so on and so forth, okay? Now, this sounds terrible because I am not voicing the chord all that well. So if I wanted D minor over C, I might do something like that, or just leave out that D down there, or do this. Okay? So you see, I might change my voicing around. The main thing you need to understand about our slash chords is that a slash chord means that there is a note other than the root being played in the bass. Okay? So here's another example. This is using what I call the root stomp, right? This is kind of like a stride feel. Root stomp is my own terminology that I use, okay? So it's not used by everyone. So I have D minor, D minor over C. So you see what I did there? D minor, play the D minor chord, D minor over C, and I play the D minor chord. So I'm hitting D, then I come up and I play my rootless chord. Okay, I'm still considering this all D minor, but then here's D minor over C. Notice I go down to the C, then I come back up and I play the same rootless chord for D minor that I just played. Okay? So you can see where we're going with this. So this measure right here is going to be important in our arrangement. So you want to make sure you get that measure down. Okay, so again with the root stomp, hitting the root, rootless chord, hitting the next root, in this case it's an alternate bass note, the C, right? And I come up to my D minor again. All right, so that's slash chords. I'll see you guys in the next lesson. To get the first 45 pages of music for free, just go back to jazzpianodaily.com. If you liked the video, please be sure to click the like button and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. To watch the rest of the lessons in this series, just click on the playlist to the right of this arrow. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.